Washington is preparing for the inauguration on Wednesday of President-elect Joe Biden. Outgoing President Donald Trump is still not conceded, but nonetheless he departs the White House tomorrow. Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris won the election, but there are millions of Americans who believe it was stolen from Donald Trump. While there's still no evidence of this, the unhappiness and anger was witnessed in the storming of the Capitol recently by Trump supporters. As the USA prepares for a significant change of power tomorrow, let's discuss the main challenges for the incoming administration and the legacy of the departing one. I'm joined by Elizabeth Sideropoulous, head of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for joining us. So what are your expectations of the inauguration tomorrow? Do you think it is, despite all the drama in the run-up, is going to be a peaceful handover?
Well, I think certainly Washington, D.C. is taking no risks in terms of having a repeat of what we saw on the 6th of January when protesters, rioters stormed the Capitol. So there is a significant, I think, security presence. So I think the expectation and certainly the hope is that that the inauguration will proceed peacefully. However, I think there is real concern and real good cause for concern about how this is going to play out going forward. It's not just what's going to happen in D.C., but also sort of mobilization to march to the various capitals of the 50 states in the U.S. And this is, I think, a movement that is going to be one of the biggest challenges that incoming President Biden is going to have to deal with, the sort of the radicalization of maybe not a significant portion of American society, but certainly a portion that is big enough to cause trouble. And after all, you know, more than 70 million, 72, 73 million Americans actually voted for Trump in the elections on the 3rd of November. So that's a cautionary tale.
Yeah, absolutely. The arrival of Biden and Harris is being heralded as a sort of a welcome new era for the United States, the country, a suggestion that it will resume its usual place in the international community. Is it going to be that simple, Elizabeth?
No, it's never that simple. I think certainly there's going to be a significant change in style. I think everybody's going to say, sure. Okay, you know, it's a little bit more predictable. I think there's going to be a reinvigoration of diplomatic activity and a more traditional form of engagement. Let's not forget that, you know, the U.S. has certain permanent interests, and those have been problematic for many countries across the globe, not least in Africa and certainly in the Middle East, and many of these will continue. I think the tone, though, will be very different. President Biden is expected to really rebuild his alliances, the alliances of the U.S., certainly with Europe, particularly with also Asian countries. And I think there's going to be a greater re-engagement with Africa. Africa has kind of was the stepchild under the Trump administration, and maybe that wasn't a bad thing. And certainly some of the people in his foreign policy establishment that have come back into office have a really sound knowledge of Africa and are good friends, not least the incoming ambassador to the UN. But, you know, their interests, I think, we shouldn't expect that this is going to be an administration that is now going to sort of, you know, have an 180-degree turn in terms of how America generally comports itself. I think some of the issues around interventionism and so on are probably still there, although this is an America that first and foremost will have to deal with the impact of the COVID pandemic and, of course, the impact on the economy, which has been really, really dire. And I think the foreign policy engagements are going to have to be prioritized. Key foreign policy engagements will have to be prioritized, and so it won't be possible for them to have a really, really expansive foreign policy bearing the domestic constraints in mind.
And where does this leave Trump after tomorrow, do you think?
Well, I think the removal of his social media accounts certainly has helped to lessen the temper. I think the Trump movement will continue to be a feature of the American political landscape. irrespective of whether the Senate finds him guilty and he's convicted when the Senate impeachment hearings begin, and therefore he might not be allowed to stand again. I think there is a movement around him that will have to be tackled. And I think there is a Trump family that certainly has political aspirations beyond Donald Trump. So I think Trumpism is here to stay. It's not the end of a movement, it's probably the beginning of a movement. And this is something that should be of concern to the US and indeed to the world because of the possible political implications for that country.
Something to consider. Trumpism is here to stay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Sideropoulous, head of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Plenty more news to come. Stay with us.